roll it up, we gon' burn it down.
Hello and welcome back everyone to another tournament reflections video. This time around we'll be looking at the first round of the Australian Young Masters that I played, and you might have seen the introduction in the previous video. This time around we are playing as black, and hence I was playing against Suzanne Wells. Now Suzanne is a high schooler. She finished high school this year from Adelaide High School, and she has a rating of 1,370. So with that being said, let's get straight into the game. So the game started off with the first move, e4, and basically after e4 we have c5, then we have d4, c takes d4, c3, d takes c3, and knight takes c3. Here you have a typical Smith-Morra gambit. Now the Smith-Morra gambit was pretty popular about 5, 6, 7 years ago, something like that, when a new book by Smith came out about the Morra game. And people have been trying to find ways of how to combat against the Smith-Morra, and I've actually found one useful video which is found in Chess24. Just go to Chess24 and search up the Smith-Morra game, and you will find the solution of how to play against it. The reason why the line is so strong is because it gives white a massive initiative from the very beginning. So with that being said, I played knight c6. After knight c6, bishop to c4 was played, which is the normal move, and then followed by e6. Now e6 is a really important move. In this position, when the pawn is back on e7, it is not good to play something like d6. D6 is a bad move because it gives the d5 square for the knight, and so what happens is that the knight becomes extremely strong and it stops black's pieces from developing. You got this bishop over here on f8, which is pretty much stuck for the rest of the game, and you're going to have a really difficult time of sorting out your kingside and your lack of development. So as black, it's important to play e6. Via e6, you're getting the bishop out to either b4 or e7, and then you have plans of playing something like knight to e7 and then playing knight to g6. The whole idea of this system is to go and try and combat against this e5 square. So the e5 square is really important in the Smith-Morra, and black has to concentrate on keeping the advantage and the initiative of having a free pawn. And white's main concern here is to try and keep pounding away at black's position, because if he can't get a certain advantage out of the position, there's no point of him losing the pawn. So here what Suzanne played was knight to f3. Now knight to f3 isn't necessarily the best move, but it is a move which is in book. I mean, I for certain don't play this as white, but as black, as a Sicilian player, you have to know exactly how to combat against this type of stuff. So here you play a6. You go for a Khan type of structure. The Khan type of structures involve mainly playing something like b5, bishop to b7, and queen to b6. So those ideas have to be always involved. Here Suzanne played queen to c2. Queen to c2 is what Engine considers a novelty, that it hasn't seen it before in terms of database or opening theory. I'm sure it has been played before, but the idea is unclear. Just the development of the queen, but the queen is much better placed on e2, where it is focusing on a pin on the pawn on e6 rather than on c2, where it isn't actually doing much. So queen to c2 was played. Instead, she could have tried something like playing a4. The whole point of a4 is to stop b5 from happening, and then here I can play something like knight to g7, h4, knight g6, h5, and then knight to e5. Knight takes e5, knight takes e5, and bishop to a2. So this has been played before, I think, between Kamsky and D. Andreykin. Going back to the game, queen to c2. After queen to c2, b5. The whole point of b5 is to kick this bishop away. The faster that you keep the bishop away to b3, the faster you can get something like knight to a5 in, and then swap off this dangerous bishop on b3. Bishop to b3, knight g to e7. Now I go about the long plan of just quietly but surely maneuvering the knight from e7, from g8 to e7 to g6 to e5. And as you saw before in that game with Kamsky, Kamsky managed to swap off the knights at the very end. So bishop to f4 was played, and now I can play knight g6 with the tempo. She's simply giving me a bit more room to maneuver and a bit more time to get all of my pieces out. Bishop to g3, bishop to e7. Obviously playing bishop to b4 would have been a better move. Also bishop to b7 would have been a critical move as well, because engine here suggests bishop to b7 and it is already negative 0.77, and white actually doesn't have any of the initiative that he once had during the start of the game. So what I played was bishop to e7, as we said, and Suzanne castled, I castled, and then rook f to d1. I had to get my queen out of this line of attack, so queen to b6 was the next move. Next she played rook a to c1, so getting her other rook into action. Now in this position comes a critical move. Pause the video and then try and find out exactly what I played and why I played it. What I played was d6. The reason why I played it is because I wanted to go for this e5 square, maybe put something like a knight on it. There's another reason why d6 is also a good move, that I'm trying to get the double bishops in this position. It's an open position, so the knights aren't really as valuable, so I was going for the double bishops. d6, it kind of prompts her to go for the free pawn, bishop takes d6, try and win the pawn back, and then comes the next move which followed. So bishop takes d6 and now knight to d4. In this position, engine points out that it's negative 0.64, so I did go down in a few points according to engine, but I think in terms of the strategy and the positional play involved, that this is the best option that black could have done. So in this position, rook takes d4, and now bishop takes d6. I have the advantage of the double bishops. This bishop is pointing at h2, and my bishop on c8 will go to b7, and then will point at h1. That being said, the wrong time to make a blunder, she played queen to d3. Bad move. Queen to d3 is bad because of bishop to c5. Now she just loses the rook for the exchange. So losing material right then and there, I was pretty much fine after this move. But instead of queen to d3, she could have played a rook c to d1, which is a better move than what she played. Bishop to c5 still, then rook 4 to d2, and now I'm only slightly better. So we go back to bishop to c5, losing the rook, knight to e2, bishop takes d4, knight e takes d4, bishop to b7. Now I've pretty much won material and I'm getting all my pieces into the game. Rook to d1, it's an okay move. Rook a to d8, and now queen to c2. e5, and now knight to e2. Now I've gotten another chance to swap more pieces off. The faster that I swap off all the pieces, the easier it is for me to go and win the game. So rook takes, queen takes, and rook over to d8. It was important to put the rook on d8 first before taking the pawn, because it gives me more control over the position. I can take this pawn on e4 anytime that I want. So after rook to d8, queen to c1, and I play h6. h6 is another extremely good positional move. We look at all the pieces that white has. This queen isn't doing much. This bishop pinning this pawn. This knight not doing much. And this knight is the bane of all existence. It's in white's camp. And the reason is that any square that it goes through forwards, it is pretty much going to be attacked. So it's being attacked here, attacked here, attacked here, attacked here. The reason why h6 is important is because it stops all kinds of ideas of bishop takes f7 and knight to g5 check, or anything in that situation where it would give white more counterplay for the lack of material. So I decided to stop all counterplay, play h6 instead, and now h3 happened. The point of h3 is to try and give an escape square for the king, and I played bishop takes e4, knight takes e5, and look, in this position, the position's pretty much gone for white, so I don't know why she's going for further simplifications. I took queen to f4, and here she's attacking 3 of my pieces, 2 of my pieces and a pawn, my bishop, my knight, as well as my pawn on f7. And I wanted to swap off pieces, so I said bishop to d5, good move. Queen takes e5, bishop takes b3, a takes b3, rook check. And now comes king h2. After king h2, you all know that my whole plan and idea in this position is just to swap off as many pieces as I can. The only pieces that I can swap off now and retain the advantage are the queens. So the next move ended the game, queen to d6. And she's pretty much forced to take, and the game ended right then and there when she decided to resign. So this was pretty much a pretty instructive game on how to play against the Smith-Morra. If you want to study more about how you exactly get the nuances and play against the Smith-Morra, please go to Chess24 and search it all up. I am no expert on the theory of it, but I know the gist of it to try and maneuver myself around a few things here and there. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Kudos to Suzanne for this absolutely amazing game. She went for an attack, and unfortunately it didn't work out because I knew the theory behind it. Please leave a like down below if you did. Also subscribe if you haven't already. Look out for the next video. Thank you, and I'll see you next time.